Well, good morning and welcome back to another episode of Marketo-Fu. My name is Joe Reitz, and we're going to be continuing what we started discussing on the last episode. And if you were lucky enough to see it live, what didn't work out the last time I tried to do a live broadcast. So, on the previous episode of Marketo-Fu, what I talked about was how to build an RCM and some quick tips for actually how to actually construct it. The most efficient way and get additional data points and flow steps built into the model, and that's by doing it in a separate program with individual smart campaigns for each step. I also talked about the fact that there's multiple types of stages in an RCM, a revenue cycle model, buyer's journey, whatever you want to call it. Lead lifecycle model is a common one too. But one of those that I want to park on today is the SLA stage. And what that is, like I mentioned on the last episode, is so an SLA or service license agreement or whatever, it's kind of like easiest way to think about it is this is a timed alert. So when someone gets to this inventory stage of an RCM, or this stage of an RCM, there's a limited amount of time for the next thing to happen. So you're trying to time something. So most common use case is when a lead becomes automation qualified or marketing just says, hey, we think this lead's ready for a sales conversation. So marketing qualified. What a lot of folks do is they put a timed SLA on this and say, okay, so the sales rep now has 2 days to respond to the alert we're going to generate. So, and they have to mark the lead either accepted or rejected. So, what the RCM lets you do is report on how many SLAs are currently due and then how many SLAs are past due. And I'm going to show you how to set that up. So let me share my screen real quick. Okay, there we go. Okay, let me move this because that's going to trip me out the entire time. All right, so I am in, so I probably should have mentioned, to do this style of report, you need RCE, Revenue Cycle Explorer or Revenue Cycle Analytic. I honestly don't know which one I'm supposed to call it. But there's, in RCE, when you have a model built out and you have RCMs in your instance, what you can do is this model performance analysis. This report actually lets you can do it on leads or company level. And this report actually lets you do a lot of cool stuff and say, so you can see as it loaded in that I have all these different measures and attributes that I can bring into the model. Usually it's going to be something like year and which model and all these measures of SLAs due and SLAs past due. Now, because I am in a real instance with some private data, I'm not going to show you actually. I'm not going to build it, but all you would simply do is drag the measures to this blue part here, drag the columns and rows appropriately here. And what you'll end up with is something akin to this, where you see I've got some nice little blurred out facts and figures, and this is not a complete model yet either. But what you can see is, I can see, is it on the success path? Yes and no. So the cool thing that this will do is a lot like the success path analyzer that's in the default reporting offering from Marketo in that analytics section. It can also report on the inflow outflow of things that are not on the success path, and that's what you can see down here. But essentially what I'm trying to do is, so in this model, as I shared on the Marketo-Fu sample, they go from known to engaged to automation qualified, and then that's a gate. And if they meet our criteria to go directly to sales, then they go to marketing qualified. If they do not meet that criteria, they go to converted lead, and that's where an inside sales team was going to try to convert them into a contact. So what you would simply do here when you run this report is look at, here's the number of SLAs due. So say we have 500 SLAs due, and we see that of those, 250 are past due. Well, now we can have a very data-driven conversation of, hey, this figure here is not acceptable, but the reason we think this is happening is because just an adoption issue on the sales side. So we need to come together, partner better, and figure out like what do you guys need to be accepting these or rejecting them, or like, are you guys not receiving the alert, or are you just ignoring it because it doesn't look like it's something you need, or what's going on here? And there's a bunch of different ways you could do the alert. You could just do a Marketo alert saying, hey, you have to go to Salesforce and accept or reject this lead. You could trigger a task in Salesforce that also has an SLA that could say, and you'd want this SLA to match, that would say, basically the same thing and link them directly to the task, where it would make it much easier for them in a couple clicks just to say yes or no. Um, I've done it. I've done it both ways for both brand side and with clients. But then you can get the normal inflow outflow kind of measurements of what's going from stage to stage, the average time it takes, and the conversion ratio. So all this kind of stuff that you would get on a success path analyzer, but not necessarily limited to the success path, and also reporting on those SLA infractions. So let me unshare my screen. Cool. So this has been a very, very quick dive into building a model performance analysis report to show SLA infractions. So if you want to build an SLA into your RCM, your lead lifecycle model, your buyer's journey, whatever, this is a great way to monitor that sales and marketing alignment issue or challenge. So if you need a data point around how to basically have that conversation with sales, this is a great place to do it, great method of doing it. And it really makes sure that, from a process standpoint, your organization is doing the utmost that's possible through the tool, just to say, how are we handling our customers and putting them first, and making sure that all along the journey that they're being handled appropriately and given to the right people, and that we're nurturing them correctly. Because even after an opportunity is created, there might be many scenarios where you'd want to continue nurturing them through that period. Simple case in point would be any business that goes to RFP. If someone's attached to an opportunity, they're probably undergoing an RFP, and if that's like a month or 2 month process, then you can easily build a nurture cadence that goes along with that period to kind of guide their thinking and conversation points for the customer to talk about with their rep. So that's a great way to make sure that your brand stands out amongst the other companies that are in the RFP, but separate discussion for another time. This has been creating an SLA past due or SLA infraction report on Marketo-Fu. My name is Joe Reitz, and we will talk soon.